In this video, I'm going to show you how I created a new mosaic tabletop for this old table. The reason I really love this table is because it has this metal lip on the edge that'll protect our mosaics, and it also has these little brackets that I can fasten my top into, which makes this old table a really good find. Often as artists, we have something circular and we need to find the center. In this case, I'm going to measure 2 lines, and I use 12 inches to make it easy to find the center, and then mark the center. Then we'll draw a second line at 12 inches, and again I'm going to mark the center. Then we take a square, line it up, and this is a 90-degree angle, so when we line this up to our center point and draw a line, and we do that again and draw a line, now we have center. I decided that I'm just going to divide my top into quadrants, and I'm doing this in a different color so I don't get confused with my original lines. And I will take my square off the center. Now we have it all divided up equally and ready to go. To fasten this top into the table, I'm going to use T-nuts. These are readily available from most hardware stores. The great thing about them is once they are installed, they sit flat against the Ouija board, and I can just run my mosaic materials right over the top of them. Because they fasten from the back, if the top gets damaged or you decide you want to switch it out for something else, you can do it without any damage to the mosaic just by taking out the screws. Now I'm just removing the tape. This is my little trick to hold the fasteners in place while I tip the table upside down. I have the table for years, and I always thought that I would love to do a China pattern on it. And now available are these great tiles, so I don't have to chop up my grandma's plates. And they're high fired and can go outside, so it makes it perfect for this project. I spent a little time dry laying some tile just to get a really good sense of where I'm going. And now I'm going to start sticking them down with just doing a little back buttering of each tile. Although these pieces come randomly broken, they're still really easy to cut using this compound nippers. Position them slightly on the edge and give them a squeeze. Before I start grouting, I like to just check a few things. First, I'll run my hand over and look for any little bits of thin set that may have stuck on the top of the tile and get those scraped off and loose. I also kind of just run my hand around and check that everything's glued, because once in a while you'll dry lay a piece and then forget to go back and glue it. Once all that's done, you know, give it a sweep and get any loose debris off, pieces of tile or thin set that might be in the way, and then you're ready to go. Now I'm ready to grout. Safety first, mask on, and I like to always pour a little water into the bottom of my container before I add any grout, because that keeps the grout from sticking to the bottom of the container. I'll get a couple of good scoops in here and add a little water, trying to get to the consistency of brownie batter to cookie dough. Scrape down to the bottom so that you make sure you get all the dry particles up. We're pretty close, but if you feel like you're a little dry, then you can just use a spray bottle because it's easier to control. And at this point, it's really easy to add too much water. I like it to still hang on my trowel. We don't want it to run off too easy. And we're going to let this flake and we're good to go. Okay, ready to grout. I am just going to transfer this on to my table. I like to grout with the side of my hand, especially on a project like this. I don't have a lot of sharp edges to worry about getting cut. Another tool I like is actually a ceramicist tool. It works really good at spreading and making everything even. And just really push hard and get this in every little space. I'm going to worry about the middle first, and then we'll go around and make sure we got all of our edges done. Depending on where you're doing this, you may want to protect your floor because it does get messy. I like to use brown paper, readily available. In this case, I have an edge to work against, so I'm just really using the palm of my hand to force the grout in, not just around the edge, but everywhere on the table. The other thing about using your hand with gloves on is you can still feel everything through them, so you can really get a feeling for how level your surface is getting. At this point, I feel like I got everything pretty full and forced in. And I'm just going to take my mud tool first and scrape the excess off. I always try to go, it's a little harder in mosaics, but in the tile world, you're always trying to go diagonally across your grout joints. This is looking pretty good. Now I'm just going to ever so lightly, with as much as I can squeeze out of the sponge, do one sort of leveling bit, not trying to clean it at this point. I'm just kind of leveling it out, getting some of the excess off. It's important when you're rinsing your sponge to really wring as much water out of it as possible, because we don't want to add more water to our project. We're really just wiping it, getting the excess off. Too much water makes your grout weak. And this is looking pretty good. Most of the excess is off. I have things pretty leveled out. We're just going to let this set up a little bit, and then we'll buff it off. I let this grout on this table set up a little more than I usually do. I usually look for it not making a dent with my fingernail. I had this pretty well cleaned off and smooth, so I didn't want to clean it too early, or you wipe too much of the grout joints out, and you really want them to be fairly smooth on your finished table. And it looks like, for the most part, I'm just going to be able to take this little piece of t-shirt and polish it up, and we'll be done. Not really even needing any water. I find using water just smears more grout around. And so you can see just with the t-shirt, this haze is coming off. And that's because this is a glazed tile. My grout joints didn't get wiped out, and it's nice and smooth. Because if you leave too much on here, it's just gonna cause more cleanup. I think it's all polished up, and I think we're done. A lot of people ask about sealing the grout. I'm not a big grout sealer. I feel like stains are harder to get out because they get stuck in the sealer rather than just the grout. And it's often just a lot easier to clean it. Also, you got to worry about food safety and other things depending on your situation. So there's a lot of polymers and other additives in the grout these days that I just really don't feel like it's necessary. Yep, I'm really pleased with how this project turned out. And remember,
Life's a mosaic, you pick the pieces.